Florida. Danger doesn't always look like danger. It doesn't roar. It doesn't warn you. It slips into the water, hides in the trees, and slowly replaces what used to live here. Invasive species, a crisis most Floridians have never seen until it's already out of control. And the people on the front lines will tell you this isn't going away anytime soon. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Committee helps paint a picture on where these animals actually came from. But across this state, from the swamps to the suburbs to the reefs, there are people fighting back. Before we meet them, we start with the woman who's been fighting in this fight longer than most. Donna Khalil has spent years removing invasive species from Florida, especially Burmese pythons. And when you ask her what invasive really means, she doesn't sugarcoat it.
Invasive species is any organism, from fish, birds, reptiles, mammals, plants, many plants. There's all sorts of invasive species that really make a problem to our natural areas. And unfortunately, they're invasive because they're such great predators and they take over, and that means our native species really get hurt because of them.
And she's just as clear about how we got here.
I'll give you pythons, for instance. They don't have wings. They didn't fly over here by themselves from Southeast Asia. They came over in the pet trade. That's what caused it. There was no specific event. I went to a pet store to buy a pet with my mom, and she asked the right questions. She said, how big do they get? A lot of people didn't ask that question. They got these pets back in 1978, mind you. There was thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Burmese pythons introduced into the States. And when they were released, because they got too big as pets, they multiplied, and they can multiply quickly.
A human mistake, now spreading faster than we can erase it. But despite the scale of the problem, Donna never wavers on one thing.
You know, don't give up hope. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, there's too many of them, don't worry about them, you're not gonna make a difference. It's like, yes, we do. We make a difference with every single one we remove.
And the people doing the work start in very different places. For Amy Siwi, her fight began on vacation. One trip to South Florida, one python hunt, changed her life.
And I've always loved snakes and reptiles my whole life. So when I learned about this problem, I thought, wait a minute, you know, I always was going out to catch them, and it was like a 6-foot black rat snake in Indiana, and I thought, wait a minute, I can go and catch a 20-foot python?
What she found next was far bigger than the snake in her hands.
In parts of the Everglades, 98% of the mammals are gone because they've been eaten by these pythons. Pythons are the apex predator, so they have no predators. They have a voracious appetite, and without anything to keep them in check, they're gonna eat all of our mammals.
That's the part no one sees. The swamp looks alive, but most of what was once there is gone. Amy and other contractors can search for hours, even days, for a single python, because each one does damage on a scale most people never imagine.
Every single python that we're taking out of the Everglades is making a difference. Even though from the 10,000-foot view, it's a little discouraging. But when you look at it from that point of view, that we really are saving so many of our native animals' lives, it makes it all worth it. Every single one we take makes a difference.
It's slow, exhausting, but in the Everglades, removing even one snake can save hundreds of animals. And while Amy fights deep in the swamp, another invasion is taking root much closer to where most Floridians live. And Jessica Kilgore sees it happen yard by yard and house by house. A problem that starts long before an iguana ever shows up on someone's porch.
They can't keep the animal and they don't want to kill it, but it's actually your responsibility to put it down humanely instead of letting it go, because that's how this problem started. All of these problems started.
Once released, iguanas settle in quickly, digging, burrowing, and reshaping everything around them. And every burrow does more damage than most people realize.
I know the importance of maintaining all of the animals, and they really are linked. And whenever you introduce things like iguanas that are taking away a food source or taking up a habitat area, it does change the whole ecosystem and causes problems. I am trying to do it right. I'm doing my best to do it right. I do my best to follow the laws, do my best to understand other people's viewpoints of it, and to make a difference in the environment. And so I'm very passionate about all of that. And so it's easy to get out of bed and go do it.
What seems harmless isn't harmless at all. A population that starts with one becomes dozens, then hundreds, in just a few seconds, and in every case, Jessica says the same thing.
Ready? There he is. Pull him in like this. You got that iguana. So putting iguanas down is very difficult for me. I used to get sick from it. It's difficult to reckon with, right? It's not their fault. And so if you can't look at it from an ecological point of view, it's probably very difficult to justify that invasive species of all types, whether it's an insect, a plant, or a bird, it shouldn't be here. And that's the only way we can preserve the native animals that are endemic to the areas they come from. And then we got
From the swamp to the suburbs, Florida keeps learning the same lesson. When a species doesn't belong, everything around it pays the price. Because below the surface, the invasion doesn't slow down, it accelerates. Dr. Alistair Herrenbone studies Florida's reefs, and he watched the same story unfold below the waves.
The problem with lionfish is they reproduce very quickly, they can live in a whole range of different environments, but then they're quite voracious predators, so that they eat the native fish. So this is a species that should be in the Pacific.
Lionfish spread from Florida to the Bahamas, across the Caribbean, and eventually reaching Central and South America. A marine takeover with almost no resistance.
And so this was just a perfect environment for them to increase in abundance and spread. So that's typical of, as you say, of invasive species. You arrive somewhere, lots of naive prey and not many predators to eat them.
And yet for once, there's a shift. A small win in a fight full of losses.
Yeah, I think lionfish have been around long enough now that we've figured out how to catch them, and that they're not as abundant as they once were, and nature seems to be rebalancing. So compared to other threats to the reef, like decreasing water quality or climate change, I think lionfish are not the #1 threat to the health of Florida's reefs.
Not eliminate, not wipe out, manage. Exactly what Donna warned us from the start. But after years in the field, Donna has learned something else. Progress doesn't happen fast, but it does happen.
I do have hope that there is already changes. I've seen them out in the field. I hope that there will be more, and I hope that there will be the next generation picking up the ball and continuing with it and learning more, and hopefully finding more ways to meet this challenge.
Slow progress is still progress, and hope in Florida looks different than people expect. 3 species, 3 ecosystems, 1 problem spreading across a state that's still trying to catch up. Florida didn't choose this fight, but Floridians are choosing to answer it.
So we are the invasive species capital of the world in South Florida, and it is our responsibility as animal owners to not let these animals go.
But I think certainly a species that is causing damage, there's some hope that we can, if not remove that species, keep it under control and limit the amount of damage that it's doing.
They've got a big lead on us. So if we can make it to where we can get the numbers down significantly, and in some areas we have, you will see some animals coming back. So yes, we can make a difference, we are making a difference, and we will make a difference as long as people keep trying.
No one in this story believes the fight ends tomorrow. Not in a year, not in a decade. But every step, every removal, every person who cares enough to act, pushes Florida a little closer to the balance. The invasive species aren't going anywhere, but neither are the people fighting to protect this place. And for now, that's enough to keep going.